This is an animation of a human head made by a company called Bite Effects. They make different animations that dentists can use in their office to help patients understand problems and solutions in dentistry, mainly to do with TMJ and occlusal problems in the past, and they've actually done this new one having to do with how we should be breathing at night. So this is a human head. Here's the teeth, the lips, the tongue, and the nose is up here. And here's what we know about how we should be breathing at night. All of us should be breathing through our nose at night, quietly with our lips closed. In fact, most Americans do not breathe this way at night, and we're going to talk about why that is. But it's very important to breathe this way. The air is better prepared for the lungs. It's humidified, it's heated, it's filtered. All of this doesn't happen with mouth breathing. Also, nitric oxide is released in the nasal passages that helps with oxygen uptake in the lungs. So when we breathe through our nose quietly at night, that is much better air for our lungs, much healthier. In fact, many of us breathe through our mouths at night. So the air is not heated, humidified, filtered. Nitric oxide is not released. We're breathing through our mouth. Part of the reason for that is there's not enough room for our tongues, and our tongues tend to fall back. And so with snoring, the tongue has gone back, and we have vibration between the soft palate and the back of the tongue. Sleep apnea is where the tongue and the soft tissues collapse on the upper airway, and at that point, we're not getting any air. Well, the brain senses that before it even knows that there's a lack of oxygen. It knows that there's restriction in the airway. And so while it's supposed to be busy resting, and we're getting repair of our brain cells and digestion, all of this is parasympathetic activity going on with our whole system that is associated with proper sleep. But when we get into sleep disordered breathing, the brain knows this subconsciously. We don't wake up and say, I'm not breathing, but the brain knows that something's wrong, and it switches into sympathetic mode. And part of that is also a shoving or even slamming shut sometimes of the teeth, but it's really the jaw coming forward as a response, as a sympathetic nervous system response to sleep disordered breathing. We now know that sleep disordered breathing is really at the root cause of bruxism, grinding of teeth or clenching. Either clenching, squeezing the teeth together, or rubbing the teeth together is all considered bruxism. That's what we call it in dentistry. That is associated with sleep disordered breathing. It also means that our sleep is completely disrupted. It means that we're going into sympathetic mode, which is the same mode that we're in when we're being chased by a lion, instead of the restful mode, the parasympathetic mode that is better for digestion and repair of our brain cells and repair of all the cells in our body. It's also messing up our sleep rhythms, and we're getting into sleep deprivation at that point, which can lead to all kinds of other problems. But what we're talking about is anything other than nasal breathing is considered sleep disordered breathing. It all starts with mouth breathing, going all the way up to obstructive sleep apnea. All of that is associated with this tongue going back. Why is there not enough room for the tongue in the mouth? Why are we getting into this sleep disordered breathing? And the answer comes from anthropologists. Believe it or not. Anthropologists who study human skulls have found that there are no humans with crooked teeth, no crowding, malocclusion before 400 years ago, with very, very minor exceptions of some aristocratic graveyards before that. But basically, before 400 years ago, there was no malocclusion. There were no crowded teeth. There were no need for orthodontists or oral surgeons to take out wisdom teeth. All people had room for their wisdom teeth, and so we all should have room for 32 teeth. This is a modern day problem, only 400 years ago. What happened 400 years ago to cause this? And the answer is industrialized society and the advent of soft diet. Baby food now. The soft diet is responsible for a lack of development of our upper and lower jaws. So before 400 years ago, babies had long-term breastfeeding, and they went immediately to hard diet in the meantime, which helped for vigorous chewing and development of the upper and lower jaws. Humans before 400 years ago had much more full upper and lower jaws than we have now. Most of us in this country, and that it's estimated over 90% of children and adults have underdeveloped upper and lower jaws. There are very few people have enough room for their wisdom teeth and they have perfect bites. So what used to be normal is now a very, very rare human that has that. So it all comes down to soft diet. And so what we look for now as we start to look at people's mouths is, how big are your jaws? And we do something called a transverse measurement. We measure between your upper first molars. We know that we would like that to be at least 40 millimeters. Very, very rare to find someone with 40 millimeters between their upper first molars. As a matter of fact, mine is 29, but I had extraction orthodontics in the 1970s. I'm 55 years old right now, so in the 70s I had orthodontics where I was diagnosed with having too many teeth. And so they took out not only my wisdom teeth, but also 4 premolars that are about halfway back in our mouths, 1 in each quadrant. Then they put on headgear that pushed my upper jaw back and retracted my teeth back. As they did that, that actually receded my upper and lower jaws further, which they were already underdeveloped with too many teeth, supposedly, and then smushed everything back, including my upper airway. And I started snoring about 3-4 years ago, and I just went and got a sleep study and found out that I indeed have obstructive sleep apnea. I have mild apnea with a AHI number, which is the apneic-hypopneic index of 13. So that falls into mild sleep apnea. The good news is there is something that can be done about this. This is where expansion orthodontics comes in. And the good news is that for both children and adults, we can expand the upper and lower jaws, making more room for the teeth. As a matter of fact, the way we do orthodontics here, we will never, ever, ever, ever extract a tooth to do this. And in 99% of cases, we never would do something called interproximal reduction, where we reduce the sides of the teeth so that we can squeeze them together. We want to expand the teeth out. We can get much better orthodontics results with that not only are great for the teeth and the bite, but they're also better for the jaw joints and for us breathing at night. So there's where the good news is, and I'm going to show an example of an orthodontic expansion case done with clear aligners. We're not talking about braces. In most cases, we're able to do this with clear aligners. In some cases, we're using expanders that use a screw to expand. That's what I'm in the process of doing, because I am in the process of doing a very extreme treatment where I will expand enough to replace my missing teeth with implants. So I am having to wear expanders first, and then I will move on to Invisalign. This is a case done by Dr. Daniel Noor in New York, showing what is possible. This was done just with clear aligner orthodontics. And you can see not only are the teeth straighter, no extractions were done to solve this extreme crowding. And look at the size of the palate and the room for the tongue, and this person undoubtedly can breathe better.